As of the fourth quarter of 2024, the unemployment rate among individuals with university degrees in South Africa stood at 8.7%, reflecting a decrease from 9.8% in the previous quarter. This rate is significantly lower than the normal national average unemployment rate, which was 13.9% during the same period. While holding a degree generally improves employment, it does not guarantee job security, especially for recent graduates entering a competitive, rapidly evolving job market. So welcome to today's episode. I'm your host, Dintle, and I have with me Lerato, who will be joining me while we explore today's topic, which is, should companies still hire based on degrees, or should skills and talent be the new currency in the workspace? So let's dig in. Welcome. Thank you for joining me into our conversation. So I'm going to start off with degrees, right? So the norm is we leave high school, we go straight into university, we get our degree, and we get work. But in South Africa, things are very different because you have people sitting at home with degrees. But you also have people who are at home, youth, no degree, but no jobs. So what do you think about having a degree and not having an opportunity? Do you think employers do you think it matters the hiring managers in today's market?
Thank you for having me. One of the most significant challenges that we have as a country, obviously, is unemployment faced with youth, which is one of the highest within many countries, but mostly a problem within our own country, locally in South Africa. And I've always said to a lot of customers that I've assisted over the years, in my experience within the recruitment sector and the HR sector, that it highly depends. Hiring for certain roles, the dynamics and the quantums will differ from role to role, from requirement to role, from the level of the role, from the type of business that you're running, all the way to many elements that might affect productivity of the company or whatsoever on. So obviously, yes and no.
Okay.
And the reason for yes and no is because we have positions such as your compliance roles, which are roles that actually require you to be either affiliated with a certain board, a certain council, or even have a certain qualification in your spaces of your legal compliance roles, legislative roles, regulatory roles, roles such as your finance, your tax roles. However, we have other roles in product terms where I have over the years obviously encouraged a lot of my clients that, listen, let's look at it in the bigger picture. We don't necessarily need to have somebody with a qualification. A degree shouldn't merely determine whether are we hiring this person or not.
I totally get it. But my point is, those positions where you need to be compliant, and they're not positions that have a high hiring rate, right?
Absolutely.
So we'll look at let's look at the current market and where we're at in terms of the world. We're in a digital space, everything is IT, and there's a lot of encouragement for people to study IT, right?
100%.
But I can literally go on YouTube and learn how to code something. We have things like ChatGPT that can literally code for you. So I can get the experience, but what is it for someone else that will go to university and spend 4 years studying your course when I can simply just learn it online? Does that make me less qualified, or does that make me at the same level as a person that goes to university? How do we compare the two when it comes to positions that are in the market that are constantly, even just your sales positions,
Mm.
there are qualifications when people go for sales. Why do we overlook, because it does happen,
Absolutely.
where people get overlooked because they don't have a degree?
Mm.
Why is it that people get overlooked most of the time because of that aspect?
I think the reason would be mostly for employers would be that, you know, most of us as employers is we also want to be in a comfort zone, where we know that, you know, obviously this increases and it instills a sense of an expectation in such a manner that, the moment you have somebody who has studied and qualified as an accountant, or should I say rather as a sales and marketing personnel, then automatically the expectations of the end results would be that you'd expect them to know the job, you'd expect them to know the processes, the aspects that come with the job, the disadvantages and advantages. And there is a huge gap there because we have what we call skills, expertise, a qualification that qualifies you to, you know, in a standardized way, be able to tackle certain stuff and aspects. We do have certain people without the qualification aspect, but they would be able to do the job. Like, I mean, in the life of today, it's very easy to, you know, just go on your AI or your LLM models, which is your chat, Grok, whatever the case may be, and just say, you know, develop a website for me.
Yeah.
Certain roles obviously will need those qualifications because developing the website and coding the website will be a very easy task for the, you know, bot to easily code that for you. But now the role will automatically come with aspects such as, you know, debugging the role, which requires, you know, the qualification and the educational aspects. Certain roles, such as your sales roles, such as your many roles that I could mention, you do sometimes get somebody, you know, that doesn't necessarily hold the qualification, but they come with the skills and expertise, maybe which are influenced by their background or perhaps their passion, you know, and they would even know the job in many instances more than somebody that's actually qualified, you know. So it's a chicken and egg situation, but covers both.
I think for me, because I am from a recruitment background and sales, it's very easy for people that have a passion for selling, or if you have a passion for something, for you to know where to align yourself or to fit in, right? But now the question comes to play when we talk about salaries, right?
Yes.
If we have the both same skills, right? Same experience, use of experience, but a person with a degree will get paid more, right?
Yes.
Do you then wonder if, does it mean that having to go spend the years in school will make me get paid better? I think that's where the issue that I have with, because I believe, I understand why people go to university. There's certain aspects that you learn about teamwork or deadlines, that some people that don't go to school don't usually grasp quickly in the working environment. But I think when it comes to the realistics of it, people don't get paid their worth. And that's when the lines get blurry. Do you think we'd ever get to a place where people can fairly be paid in terms of the experiences that they bring to the table? Like, if you look at someone's CV and we both have the same thing except for qualification, when will we get to a point where an organization will remove that aspect and pay us the same? Because I really think, do you disagree or agree that they don't get paid the same?
I agree. In most instances, yeah.
When do you think this wave will ever change and get to a point where someone who can't go to school will get paid the same as someone that could afford to go to school?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's a tricky one. My belief, and obviously, you know, with how, you know, technology and how everything has been digitized, considering the fact that we are now in the fourth IR as well. The decisions are impacted by, the result is impacted by a lot of aspects. Like I've mentioned, you have your compliance roles. Like I've mentioned, you have roles that are, important roles within the business that forms part of the strategic operational requirements of the business for it to be able to function. However, that is a tough question. Honestly, it is a tough question because the types of industries and the size of the company will also determine that as well. Like, I mean, we have an exercise that's called job profiling, salary benchmarking, remuneration, evaluations, and so on and so on, where we normally have grades for these jobs. And if you look at your parameters in terms of how these things are set up, you would find that some of the requirements for this thing to gain value in terms of the remuneration would be affected by aspects such as your expertise, your skills, including your qualifications, including any additional courses or whatever qualifications that you might add on. So it goes back to people would take their time to better their specializations or expertise. By instance, somebody would go and do an extra course on how to code on, Azure, or maybe your AI agents, for example, if it's a developer person. So obviously, if you have two people that have that, that will now affect the decision of whether are they on the same salary, are they not on the same salary. Honestly speaking, I think it's going to take us many, many, many years for us to be able to get to a point whereby, we don't